What the fuck?
Alrighty, good morning, legends. Hope you guys doing well. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year's, all of that. Last stream of the year. I don't know what you guys have been doing the past month, but I have been taking much needed time off. This is the first legitimate time off I've taken since I went to Europe last summer. That was about 3 weeks, but even during that 3 weeks, I was still somewhat too obsessed with markets, right? I had a lot of exposure to markets still. I was still holding some of the Pepe positioning. I was still holding some of the Solana positioning, and I was looking to add to that. I think I had a maker trade that I was in while I was in Europe. The big Japan yen carry trade thing happened while I was in Europe. So there was a lot of reasons for me to stay kind of tuned into markets. So I didn't really properly disconnect, but I would say these past 3 weeks was the best disconnection I've had from markets legitimately since I started trading. There were days where I didn't open the TradingView app on my phone while I was in Japan, which is absurd. I think that's such a simple thing and probably something that a lot of you guys can do effectively, but that was not something that I could do effectively. And I think it was good because I'm coming back. Not only did I miss trading, but I also miss streaming, funny enough. I think the first thing that goes when I get burnout is like, I don't want to tweet. I don't want to be on Twitter. I don't want to open Discords. I don't want to talk to people about trading. Like, I'd rather just trade on my own. The last thing that goes is my kind of prep work for my own trading. And all of it was kind of tanking somewhere in the end of November. I was just fucking tired. So yeah, man, I feel good. I feel refreshed. I'm going to hit the ground running. I've taken 4 trades since December 26th, which again, to some of you people, that's going to sound crazy because I have literally been trading this since the 26th. I've taken 4 trades in this. All of them have been wins. Unfortunate for me, I missed both of these big BART moves, so I was not getting these massive, shorts from the highs or longs from the lows. I TP'd into this. I TP'd into this too, very early, just with set kind of limit TPs. So missed a lot of this. Did not short last night. Whenever this was around midnight my time, I was sound asleep. Took a long this morning. I'm still sitting in a half size long. So that's where I stand. We have a lot of stuff to talk about. I don't think I've talked to you guys about markets in quite some time, so let's get started on that front. Let me actually check with chat. So I'm assuming this will probably be the lowest stream turnout that I've had in multiple years. That's not even cap. I think legit, what do we have right now? 47 viewers. That is probably the lowest to start off a stream that I've had in like 2 years. Straight up, since probably early 2024. And for good reason. Like, I'd say 99% of you guys don't want to trade this. And I understand that sentiment. But I'm also here to remind you guys that the toughest conditions are going to give you the biggest XP boosts. And if I could just say one thing about why you should trade this, I'm not saying trade with your normal size. I'm not saying, risk a bunch of capital. But if you're here anyways, and you're scrolling Twitter anyways, why not click a few buttons? I will say, honestly, bear markets or crab markets or ranges or tough conditions or low liquidity, these environments teach you the most discipline when it comes to trade execution. It teaches you to be very patient for good fills. It teaches you to be very aggressive with take profits. It really, really teaches you how to trade properly, and bull markets destroy that. It happens to each and every one of us. Throughout the course of a bull market, early on, what happens to you is you take profits too early. It's going to happen again and again and again. You're going to, because you're conditioned by trading a range-bound environment, right? So you're going to take profits at every level to level, me matey, right? You're going to be doing that, and you're going to miss so many gains. And then very early mid, I wouldn't even say it's mid, you make an adjustment to your like extend targets, don't cut L's because just hold underwater a little bit. You'll get the dub. You learn all these bad habits in bull markets, and that will destroy you at the top of the market. That's why you always see the biggest liquidation cascades at the top of the market. They don't happen at the bottom of the markets. They always happen at the top, right? I think Mercury pointed this out like last year or something like that, that the biggest liquidation events in crypto always happen at the start of a downturn, right? The first big correction is where everyone gets destroyed because of those bad habits. So long story short, trading environment like this builds proper foundation. Now, a lot of you guys probably aren't even traders. You're coming in here just say, okay, when do I buy spot? When do I hold? Where swing longs? What are the big high time frame pivots? That's kind of the easiest way to make money in crypto for sure, right? But maybe there's a few of you that have thought like, oh, I'll start trading in the bear market. I'll start trading later. I'll start, I have this kind of ambition to start this at some point. Well, it's here. This is the environment you've been waiting for, right? If you told yourself that at some point during the bull market of like, oh, next cycle I'll learn how to trade. Well, start now, right? Now is the environment, and it's the ugliest market. And all I see are people complaining on CT. 1,000 different tweets I've seen over the past 3 weeks of people complaining about price action. I completely understand. I'm not faulting them for saying that. But again, last time I'm saying this is an environment where you learn. Okay, let's talk markets. So now the first thing that I have written on my screen here, the best way to get range expansion, this is going to be vice versa. This goes two ways. The best way to break out of a range is to condition the majority of people to expect range continuation. So the opposite of this is true as well, right? The best way to trap kind of trend traders is develop a range. The best way to trap range traders is to get a trend, right? The market will condition you with one piece of information, then flip the script on you. What did we hear? What did we hear on CT for the first half of this, right? All these moves right here. Big relief rally to 102, big, drawdown, immediate continuation down, immediately new lows. They were looking for big swing trades early on in this range, right? I called a lot of people out for that. And I was like, you guys are, you've learned nothing over the past couple of years, because after a big bout of volatility, expect, volatility compression and range formation. That's exactly what we've gotten. Now that we've been in this range for about 40 days, the time is coming over the next week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, something like this, is to expect volatility to pick up once again. Now, we'll have the end of the quarter in a couple days. We'll have a new quarter, new year, all of those things. We're going to have new volatility, new levels to trade, new yearly VWAP, right? All of these things need to be fleshed out. And I think that's going to bring some new found volatility. So the people that are getting very comfortable just shorting 89K and longing 85K, I think there's going to be a little bit of a shakeup soon, right? We'll talk about levels in a minute, but that's kind of where we stand as far as this goes. I think we'll start seeing some attempts to break out above 91, 92K, some attempts to probably break down below 85K over the coming weeks. That's my base case expectation to open up Q1. Okay. The next thing we should talk about is the trends, right? The daily downtrend has basically capped price, since the start of this, since 1010, right? We did have a little bit of a blip above this, but 1 rejection, 2 rejections, 3 rejections, 4, 5, 6, and this morning is 7, right? 7, 8, I don't know how many, we're losing count at this point, how many rejections we're getting of the H4 100 EMA, H4 200 EMA. This is forming to me what looks like a classic compression, right? Where price is refusing to get bullied down by the daily downtrend, but rather pushing into it multiple times, right? I do think we're going to get a compression pop at some point. And my base case is the first compression pop that we get is going to be another trap, right? So if we do get, a push up to 94K or 92K or whatever, it's probably going to reject one more time. And people would be expecting maybe the perfect gap fill to the weekly. Let me put this on so you guys can see it. Right, perfect gap fill to the weekly, probably gets rejected the first time, liquidates some people, and then we make that move. I do think if I had to flip a coin, right, or if I had a gun to my head, right, and you said, Doc, you have to make a prediction on if this range resolves up or down first, I would say the first thing that I'm expecting is relief early in Q1, right? Sometime in Q1, hopefully in January, I'm expecting some sort of relief rally to 100K. Again, these are if-then plans. I'm not just blindly going to be holding longs to 100K and say, hey, it'll work itself out. I don't even care. I know my bias is up. It's always going to be if-then, right? We're going to have so many checkpoints along the way as far as local high, single prints, value area high, all of these things. There's a CME gap at 92. I don't want to, start throwing random stuff at you. Let's try to keep it organized. But first things first, daily downtrend is still in play. We are getting a little bit of a compression under here where price is not being bullied down, but rather continuing to push up into the daily trend, which I think bodes well for kind of a relief rally somewhat soon, okay? The logical target for that like relief rally extension is going to be the confluence of all of these things. Okay, hold on. Maybe need to reload this. And what those are your yearly VWAP, right? Yearly VWAP around 99K, 100K psychological level. Quarterly VWAP, which in a few days will be prior quarterly VWAP and prior yearly VWAP. 90-day rolling, right? All of these things are converging around the same 100K psychological level, right? So that would be the primary target for relief. If you're looking at this from a value perspective as well, look how well we are respecting the quarterly value area low. A little bit of acceptance inside, price holding above the 30-day rolling, price holding above the daily downtrend. All of these things will open up the possibility to fill in a lot of this kind of volume gap where we kind of just bled through this region. Yeah, we did, chill here for a couple hours, but there's a big gap here in play, right? Again, it's going to be if then. Now, because of the environment we're in with lower liquidity, right? What are the books looking like? What's happening in here? We have thick asks just sitting here. We have thick bids just sitting here. And we have perp positioning being aggressive in between. With spot not really doing much. Maybe there's like blips here and there. Sailor enters the books here and there, but they're not continuous, steady, flows, directional flows, right? We saw directional spot selling here. We've seen directional spot buying throughout the cycle, right? We're not getting either of those things. We're getting momentary pushes directionally into thick asks, into thick bids, and that's it. That's what's causing this ping pong type price action. Until we get a buyer that's willing to actually step on the gas and buy, minute over minute, hour over hour, etc., to eat into some of these ask walls, we're not going to get that extension up here. Which is why I say that even if we get to 92, 93, 94K, if we don't have those active buyers, we're probably not going to get that extension that we're looking for. Hopefully that's well understood, okay? Any questions on any of the levels I mentioned so far, VWAPs, EMAs, price action, etc., throw it my way. Next thing we want to talk about is local, right? Locally speaking, I already made a tweet on this, so I'm just going to reiterate what I was saying there. Right below, we have some rogue lows, and this black line right here, this is your value area low, right? So if we take the value that we built up over the past 40 days, this is that kind of rolling, developing composite value area low right around 85.9, right? 85.8, whatever it is, right? Sweep some lows, composite value area low, that would be beautiful. If you look at it from some local value arguments or local value buildup, we spent a lot of time around these value area lows. We pushed up, and where's price finding kind of support at this region is towards the top of the previous values right here. Multiple days, 1, 2, 3, 4 days probably in this region, and we're kind of just chilling above. We have a little bit of a gap down here. I believe, and I think I looked at this earlier, there's a single print right below as well, right? 85.9. Right, single print 85.9. If we start getting acceptance below 87, every time we get to 87, we're finding buyers. If we get acceptance below 87, we'll probably fill down to 85.9. That's your composite value area low. That's tagging and filling your single print. And then all you have after that, if that is tagged, is upside targets, right? You would have single prints up here. You would have your value area high up here. And then you would have your, last but not least, your CME gap, 92.8, right? If you take your downside kind of objectives, all you have remaining are upside objectives. And we know the books are thick down here, and we have people kind of supporting the books down here. So you would need the same argument that I made on the top side. You would need the exact same argument on the bottom side, which is you need aggressive spot selling to kind of overcome all the liquidity of these books, or you need people to just pull orders and say, screw it, I don't want to bid here anymore. Okay? That's why you're in this ping pong kind of region. For me, my trades, as always, as you guys know, are intraday. The only kind of swing thing that I would bet on is if we got down to 85K, then I would look to take swings maybe up to 91, 92, 93, right? Hopefully all the way up to the CME gap. Outside of that, I'm just, playing ping pong on the intraday basis. That's about it. I'm going to stop there. That was, 15 minutes of me talking. Let's see if anyone has any questions. Good morning, good morning. Missed you too, Nelly. How do you catch up with? Yeah, that was the tweet that I made out for the stream, right? Good morning. Good morning. Have you been well? Yeah, I've been well. Only 4 trades, and at least taking at least 50 trades. I like it, man. I like the hustle. What up? What up? Yeah, so, you know, there's a lot of legitimacy to what I said earlier, right? How do you catch up to someone that's better than you? Right? You can outwork them, of course, right? That's the simple answer. You just work harder than them. You put more hours in. But what if they're dedicated too? What if they're putting the hours in? Well, then you've got to find times when they take time off, right? Say Kobe used to show up to the gym at like 4 a.m. and he said, everyone's sleeping. I can catch up to them, right? Famous line from Kobe. I don't know exactly how he said it, but I think everyone knows that story. When practice is over, if you're playing a sport, stay a little bit longer, right? I'm sure you can get another drill in. You could run an extra lap than other people. Put in an extra trade. What can you do here in markets and crypto? You sacrifice some holiday time. It's not cute. It's not fun. You know, I did it. I did it in 2021. I did it in 2022. I did it in 2023. You sacrifice some holiday time. You know everyone's off. You know everyone's giving you the advice to touch grass. They give you the same advice every time. When they stop being able to trade is when they tell you should touch grass. When they have no ability to trade the market, they tell you to touch grass. And what they're basically doing is getting you to follow in their footsteps. They think it's impossible to trade, so they just say, you shouldn't trade. I think it's bad advice. How do you want to beat these guys? You want to be better than these guys? You got to trade when they're not trading. When they tell you to touch grass, you say, no, I'm locking in. I don't care that the market's hard. I don't care that I'm maybe just chop myself up and lose some money. I'm going to gain XP. I'm going to gain skill set. I'm going to gain experience. I'm going to learn something. You don't just learn just from reading, dude. You learn from doing. We all need a new hobby. In the last 1 month, things are finally clicking together for me when it comes to trading. Love to hear that, man. Love to hear that. Good morning, grinders. Good morning. Wait, did you get permission from the quants to go live? Which quants? I think I missed some drama on CT because I saw a lot of people, I don't want to hear about this quant via versus this discussion anymore, but I have no idea what that's about. Hello, Doc. Welcome back and happy holidays. Does the Paragon VWAP show the previous year quarter? Yeah, it does all that. So let's go over this right here. I think the easiest you'll see on your weeklies. So all of these are previous weeks. So take this one, for example. That's your weekly. When this weekly's closes, it shows your previous week's values, right? So right now, these 3 red lines are your previous week's values. Where did we find support this morning? Previous week's value area low. Did you enjoy Arc Raiders? I'm loving it, dude. I can't get enough. I can't remember the last time I was able to like sit and play a game for like 4 hours, like a PvP game for like 4 hours straight. Most valuable lesson learned these 2 weeks: don't trade the end of December. Do you guys know who Schmosby is? He's actually the first guest I ever had on a stream. I remember the end of 2022. This is after FTX. Let's pull it up on a chart. So very similar to the environment we have now, right? Burn this in your mind. How ugly that is. Now look at the end of FTX, right? Let's highlight December. During this time, let's see if I can go like a 4-hour chart or something. I don't know if it'll let me go back that far. Oh, it will. Okay. Look at this. This is the same price action you guys are complaining about right now. It's the same thing. Me and Schmosby, I swear, were the only 2 people in December of 2022 actively trading. neither of us had any followers. I think Schmozeby's at 10K now. I have like 40K now. Neither of us had a single follower back then. I can't remember, but I don't think either of us did, right? We were grinding, we were posting charts, we were taking trades. I think we both took like a Solana trade or something like that. And I'll never forget that. Never forget that, because what else am I going to fucking do, right? What am I going to do if I want to get better? Am I just going to sit and just, oh, everyone says don't trade December, so I'm just not going to trade? No, like, we're out here. And I know he did really well this cycle. I did really well this cycle. And I always say the same thing. I owe it to trading this dog shit. Who cares? What do you think, you're owed good price action all the time? You're just granted it? No. Like, there's two ways to make it in trading, guys. Two ways. Number one, you either gun it so hard that you are so far ahead on your capital in a short period of time, 2-3 years, that you can just coast on that capital for the rest of your life. And how many people do you know this cycle that have done that? I can name one off the top of my head. That's the Crypto Nexus, right? He turned whatever, $1,000 or $3,000 into 10 mil, maybe even more than that now. I don't know what he's worth. It's a crazy amount of money. He's the only story I know from this cycle that has gone from basically nothing to generational wealth in 3 years. Okay? Everyone else has to at least build a skill set where they can hang their hat on that goes, I can doesn't matter what happened in the market. Doesn't matter if we have a bull market, a bear market, a range-bound market. It doesn't matter if I have to trade metals or crypto or this or that. I know that I have a skill set that can put food on the table, that can pay my mortgage month over month for 10, 20, 30 years, right? You have two choices to make. Either you hyper gamble your way up, which is very difficult to do, or you develop a skill set, which is, I think, is a lot easier to do. The discussion was basically CT Quants saying that you shouldn't trade discretionary because it's basically impossible to build an edge. They're retarded. It's a dumb argument, dude. I've gone through multiple edges this cycle that I haven't heard a single person other than myself talk about. And they have come and gone because I talk about them sometimes on my stream, and I've seen them kind of slowly evaporate. It doesn't matter. I find a new one. I find a new one. I find a new one. One of my biggest edges in 2025 is disappearing soon. Dude, a lot of people that I respect dearly in markets and look up to were clowning me for trading the CME gaps this year because they thought that the CME gap was like this meme. I built an edge trading around the CME gaps, and it was my single best edge this year. It's not new. I didn't develop it. I'm not the first guy to be like, oh, trade CME gaps. Absolutely not. But you can find discretionary edges in markets that give you a weighted statistical edge. A weighted statistical edge. Do you guys know? Most people don't know there's a CME gap every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday from 5 to 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, basically New York time. And do you know that I'm telling you now, because this is gone in a month, right? I don't care if you guys know this anymore. I haven't talked about this on the public stream all year, but it doesn't matter anymore because it's leaving. Do you guys know that CME gap closes statistically on median in about an hour, which means that you have a pretty good shot of mean reverting if price moves during that 1 hour illiquid session? This discussion was basically, okay, I read that. I'm so glad I found you. I changed my trading for the best. Love to hear that, man. Now you're showing all your tools like market profile, order flow, all this part of your growth in 2025. Yeah. So while, let's recap. I'm going to make an entire video on my 2025 kind of lessons learned, review, breakdown by quarter, breakdown by best trades, worst trades, best decisions, worst decisions, where I've grown and whatever. If you guys maybe we do something fun, type 1 in the chat if you have watched my streams throughout the year, or maybe you've watched at least 5 or 8 streams this year in 2025, right? If you guys have watched any of my streams in 2025, especially before August, right? The first maybe 8 months of the year. How many times did you guys hear me saying I have zero spot conviction? Zero spot conviction. I don't have any interest in buying spot. I don't have any interest in owning crypto assets. All I want to buy is Bitcoin. Bitcoin's too expensive, right? How many times do you guys hear me say that? A million times, right? And what did I say? I was like, I'm just going to focus on my trading. I'm just going to be happy and comfortable trading. So like while everyone is looking for a bull market, I'm I'm building a skill set somewhere else. I'm going like trading or being locked into markets 18-hour days is not going to work for me anymore. I need to be able to develop a skill set where I can lock in for multiple hours a day, 5, 6, 8 hours, and be done. So if I have to enter and exit a trade within 8 hours, I have to lower the time frame that I'm trading. I can't trade 4-hour, 1-hour charts, 15-minute charts. I have to trade 1-minute charts, 5-minute charts, something like that. The tooling needs to change. Everything needs to change. That's what I was doing this entire year. I started that in March of 2024. But 2024 is still a lucrative high time frame year that like that was taking the back seat to my main trading. 2025, low time frame trading became my main trading. How are you thinking about spot bags? Again, I'm still not interested in spot bags. I am interested in Bitcoin though. So here's my Bitcoin kind of recap, right? So we have to take it all the way back to here, right? Somewhere back to here. I sold all my altcoins near the top simply because of the Bitcoin dominance chart, right? There was like a very nice, remember, I was kind of retarded back then. Like I didn't know much about markets back then. I just understood that every time Bitcoin dominance got to these lows, like May 2021, September 2021, every time Bitcoin dominance got down here, altcoins and the entire market would get clapped. So everyone knows about May 2021. September 2021 was a massive altcoin crash again. And then when we started getting down here in November, December, whatever, what I did is I sold all of my altcoins and I bought Bitcoin. I just like tripled down on Bitcoin, right? And I got hammered because I thought, oh, maybe Bitcoin will go higher and altcoins will get wrecked and I'll just hold my Bitcoin. I didn't know that was gonna be a start of a bear market, right? Eventually sold the Bitcoin, and then I tried to basically knife catch the entire way down, right? So the big learning lesson for me in 2022, right? I was basically trying to catch the bottom the entire way until I understood what a bottom actually looked like way later, right? But was thinking all of these were good buys, right? So fast forward to down here, I denominated my basically portfolio in a Bitcoin and I had a small amount of Solana. Somewhere later in the year, in mid 2023, I basically took some Bitcoin, put it in the long-term holdings, and I was like, I'm never going to touch this Bitcoin, screw it, and the rest of it I converted to Solana, and then Solana became the core bag for this cycle, right? I have not added to that ledger of BTC since down here. Now, my total capital versus my BTC stack is embarrassingly small and I need to add to it, right? So my number one goal right now is just to stack more Bitcoin because it's the only asset in this market that I actually believe in. I did the smart thing by using my capital to trade altcoins this cycle versus just Bitcoin. It completely destroyed Bitcoin's returns, right? So it's a smart thing to do. But now, once again, I want to own the asset that I actually want to own. The asset that I actually want to own is Bitcoin, right? So I want to stack this. Do I think 80K or 87K is a generational Bitcoin entry? No. But at the same time, buying spot here with a small amount of my capital, I still don't have the bulk of my capital in crypto. It's in the bank. It's doing nothing. It's collecting dust, not even getting interest. No money market funds, nothing, no REITs, no stocks, no dividends, no nothing. It's just sitting in cash, right? I have a small amount of my capital in crypto that is sitting in spot Bitcoin right now. Do I think this is the best entry of all time? Absolutely not. Do I think it's generational entry? No. Would I be devastated if Bitcoin went down to 40K and I get trapped in some Bitcoin? No, because I want to own the asset anyways, right? So it's just thinking of me of converting cash into assets that I want to own, just like real estate, just like whatever. That's what I think about Bitcoin. Anything else as far as spot goes for altcoins, again, still not interested in. My spot buying in altcoins needs to come from a point of conviction. I need to believe in the asset, and I need to actually fundamentally believe it needs to reprice higher, that it is fundamentally undervalued. And the market is wrong right now, and I am correct, and I'm willing to see that volatility out either through price or either through time, right? That was the bet I made on Solana. That was the bet I made on Pepe. And until I get one of those kind of conviction bets again, or we get maybe a high time frame uptrend again, I'm not willing to pick up, senseless spot altcoin bags. The biggest mistake that I made this entire year was just for a little bit of time in late September, early October, was being like, okay, I want to stack some altcoins just because I think the market might go higher. And that cost me. That was my biggest L of my entire career, was on 1010. Biggest, not percentage L, but biggest money L. Like that one hurt. That one hurt. So not thinking about spot bags. Hey Doc, do you think you could trade with just EMAs like you used to, or do you need VWAPs? No, I could trade just on EMAs like I used to. The only thing I need to do is I don't think the 4-hour trend is as good as it once was. I think the 4-hour trend is kind of lost immense power, immense EV. So I think you would have to focus on lower time frame EMAs like the 1 hour, 15 minute, or I have to adjust maybe some of the calculations as far as the numbers that I use. So at 13, 21, 34 are the EMAs that I use. Maybe I would have to adjust and kind of refilter some of the systems. So I know like Mercury and Pierre have their EMA systems. The one that worked for me the best was the 4-hour and daily and weekly, right? I think the daily and weekly are still phenomenal. I think the 4 hours lost a bunch of edge just because of how popular it got. And if I wanted to trade like day to day, I think I would focus maybe on like the hourly. %90 hit rate, which is that for? I probably lost what we're talking about. Catching up the stream now. Nice. See you soon. Why are we talking about 2021, bro? It's just I was trying to make a point with something. Do you think Solana will be good bet for next cycle? I don't think it'll be as good of a bet as it was this cycle. No, I don't think so. I think there was immense EV on basically the bet on Solana in 2022 was the market was wrong as basically pricing Solana as an FTX trade, right? So the reason Solana got absolutely destroyed here is like a lot of the market just thought this is an FTX coin, this is an FTX trade, and it's going to zero because FTX went to zero, right? And I thought there was an immense opportunity, right? It didn't feel comfortable like buying Solana down here, right? I was actually terrified. When it went to $7 right here, I didn't actually have the balls to buy more. It was underwater as fuck. I didn't have the courage to buy more Solana because I was like, damn, what if they're right? But the bet that I made on Solana down here was like, I don't think this asset is just the FTX asset, right? And that conviction grew over time with actually what no one really left. People are still trading on Solana. People are still building on Solana, right? That's all obvious in hindsight. But you know, that was the bet. I don't think Solana has some kind of asymmetric edge or fear to buy this time around. I think it's just, it is what it is. The market priced it fairly. The market found fair value. Yes, it will at one point or another probably be undervalued again, and you can buy it as a undervalued trade, but is it going to provide the same kind of returns once again? I don't think so. So I don't think it's going to be as good of a trade as it once was. What if a person is mainly break even for the last few years and descending into nihilism, asking for a friend? Okay, number one, take the positive. At least you're not losing money, right? Being break even is the hardest thing to break out of as a trader. I think it's very easy to go from being not very easy, but I would say it's an easy, let me put it to you this way. Let me rephrase this. Okay. It's easier to make the transition from being a losing trader, right? To go from a losing trader to a break-even trader. This jump is easier than the jump from break-even trader to profitable trader. Why? Right? This requires discipline. That's something a lot of people don't have, right? But it's something that you can actually quantitatively do. Like, you don't need to just be like, oh, it's a mindset thing and I don't have this mindset and whatever. Look, being a break-even trader means that you are able to make money. You are able to create gains. You are able to make money. You're able to run up an account. You are able to, you know, have a profitable trade, have a profitable investment. You lose it though, right? What you need to do is look at your own trading and say, where am I making the money? What are the things that I'm actioning that are actually making me money and what are not? And put them in a little baskets and say, okay, these are the things I do well. These are the things I don't do well. All of these things I'm doing really well. All of these things I'm not doing well. All you need to do is try to cut out your unforced errors. You simply just need to remove a few of these. And what this looks like to you versus me to the next guy is all going to be different, right? The classic thing, oh, I'm trading because of boredom. I'm trading an environment that I'm not good at. I'm trading assets that I don't normally trade. Every time I make money, it's because I buy a brand new centralized exchange listing coin. I buy TGE, the coin goes up 50% in a day, and then it bleeds out to zero, right? If you bought Monad day one, you made money. If you bought Plasma day one, you made money, right? You bought Pump Fund, I think day one, you made money. Whatever, right? You guys probably know the stats better than I do, but right? If you just say, okay, my edge is just buying this, then just don't trade it after that first 24-hour period. Be like, okay, it went up 50%, I locked in my gains, and just rinse and repeat that one thing. Don't give it back, right? That's what you need to do. And most people don't have the ability to do this because they just don't know what they're good at and what they're bad at. And they just think that doing things blindly is the right way to do it. Yeah, there's a lot of benefit in gathering data, right? But you need to do it with an intent, saying, I'm clicking all these buttons, I'm doing all these things to gather a bunch of data. Once you have that data collected over 100 trades, 300 trades, 500 trades, now it's the refinement period of like, I am going to prune all of these things that don't work for me, and I'm just going to simply focus on the things that do work for me. That's what the transition from break even to profitable is. If you've made it here, now you just need to reflect on what you're doing well. How do you differentiate between the absolute bottom compared to a local bottom for a counter trend move? So an absolute bottom is going to have basically structure flips and trend flips. You're going to have a structural change on price action as far as, you know, high time frame charts like the weekly, the daily. You're going to have basically momentum loss to the downside, right? So we can put it to you this way, right? The classic thing is saying, look, this was our 3AC collapse. This is when 3AC fell apart and all the creditors fell apart and everything. We had like a 6-month range where price refused to break down over multiple months, June all the way into November. Huge, long-standing, multi-month range. And then we had the worst, most devastating event ever, which was FTX, which looks like a joke now in hindsight. But even at the time, you could have made the argument, which is the argument that I was making back at the time, is like, why was the worst event of all time only able to take us like 10% lower? 12% lower. Are we running out of sellers, right? So this is your high time frame momentum loss. Basically saying you're absorbing bad news, right? So at the tops, what you're going to do is you're going to absorb good news. At the bottoms, what you're going to do is absorb bad news. I think I probably have so many streams where we talked about, you know, like news absorption, right? So you're going to have news absorption, you're going to run into sellers, you're going to have momentum loss, and then you're going to start flipping high time frame trends. If you're just looking at it from a mechanical perspective, you'll say, okay, look, these are the trends that carried us in the bull market. These are the trends that carried us in the bear market. We're starting to flip some of these trends. You don't want to do it through EMAs. You can do it through price action. You can say, okay, look, where's the weekly high that led to the low, right? This is the weekly high that led to fresh lows. We've taken out the high that led to the low. That becomes our breaker region. When price revisits this breaker, gives you an opportunity to buy. Even if you didn't buy for 6 months over here, you didn't buy FTX, you still could buy into the breaker. Even if you bought the first tap at 21K, in hindsight, that looks phenomenal. You're literally catching the changing of the tides. You're literally catching the changing of momentum, the changing of trends. So what's happening here, right? There's your weekly trends. That's what's carried us this entire cycle. We're now trading below it. We've broken below it. The EMAs on the weekly have flipped bearish. This will cross over soon enough, right? Whether it's, you know, in a few weeks or a few months, it'll eventually cross over, right? Whether this leads to a high time frame downtrend or not is not easy to predict. The core rule of trading trends, though, is you say when the trend that carried you along a, you know, long-standing run breaks, the first thing that you expect is a range. The second thing you expect is trend reversal, so from a high time frame uptrend to a high time frame downtrend. The last thing to accept, which is possible, but the lowest EV thing to bet on immediately, is reclaim and continuation. It's more likely for a chart to do something like this where, yeah, you range and you get back above these trends, trade into the premium and fail, aka range, versus saying, hey, we're just gonna flip this again and we're just gonna go back into a fresh high time frame giga uptrend for multiple months and years again. This can occur, but it's the lowest EV thing to bet on. So what I would say is probably this is the first checkpoint. We probably get a move like this. I don't know how this is going to play out, but I do expect this to go a little bit lower. I don't think this is going to be the worst bear market of all time. I'm not that bearish on Bitcoin, to be honest. Like, we start getting below 74K, I think those become hindsight phenomenal buys, right? It would be like buying a break below 32 and you go, damn, I went from being, you know, I went from 32K, went to 15K or something that's 50% down. Yeah, it hurts. But then in hindsight, you say, damn, I wish I could have bought 30K. People didn't even have the courage to buy here. They didn't have the courage to buy here. They didn't have the courage to buy here. They didn't have the courage to buy at 50, 60K. They didn't have the courage to buy at 70K, right? So in hindsight, it goes, oh, damn, those were good buys. So I think you look at those and you go, okay, those are portfolio buys, or those are investment buys. Those are long-term buys. Those aren't trader buys. Those aren't like, I'm going to try to catch the Pico bottom. But these investments in Bitcoin are going to look probably really smart in a couple of years, right? Okay. A lot of yap. Let's come back and look at what we've got going on. So let's move over to the other stuff. Okay. Depths are looking pretty good down at the lows. I think I tweeted about this and I briefly covered it when we were doing the Bitcoin outlook a little bit earlier. But basically, we're sitting in a regime right now where you've just got thick books at your discount regions. You got thick bids at your discount regions. You got thick asks at your resistance or value area high regions. And we're just knifing through the middle, right? No one's really actioning much in the middle. Anytime we get a short burst of buying, you're able to just, you know, like butter cut through this region all the way into your ask region. And then you fail here. People stop buying, people take profits, whatever it may be, and you just revert the entire move. Once again, we're trading back towards, not at, but towards the discount region, right? You can see those, you know, liquidity being pretty thick down here. Nothing too much to pretty much comment on anywhere else. Nothing really glaring or jumping out to me anywhere else. XMR and BCH, sure, I can do that in a minute. Do you think 35 to 40K is possible? Of course, like, when you say possible, of course it's possible. But like, do I think it's going to happen? Probably not. I personally don't think we see like 75%. Like, what would 35 be? 75%? $72, 73%. I don't think we're going to see 73%, to be honest. I think like simply putting the bulk of ETF buyers, you know, at break even or underwater, I think would be enough, right? So if you go to like an IBIT chart or something like this, where did 99% of ETF buyers buy in? Right here, right? So if we come like down to this region where they're like break even or they go underwater, yeah, of course people bought up here, right? I'm not discounting that. I'm saying this is like the opening range of the IBIT or ETF buying. Down in this range seems to me like it would be enough, right? Maybe you get a capitulation or something down here. I don't know. So I would say like worst case scenario for me personally, worst case would be like 50K, 49K, right? That would be my like bear market scenario. I don't see 35K. Like, I think we need like legitimate industry related FUD. You know, the same way we had over here with Luna and 3AC and FTX and creditors and Celsius, and all of that shit happened here, like fundamental crypto-centric industry drivers of bearish price action. We don't, no one can predict. I certainly can't predict if something like that's going to happen. But without that, like if none of this type of shit happens, I think just mechanically, you would get a lot of people being like, dude, I want to buy 60K. I'm going to buy 60K, right? Like if you just stop looking at this logarithmically, right, which is what people love to do. People love to put the Bitcoin chart. Oh, this is a doodle that I did at some point. So like, yeah, this would be like something like my bear market scenario. I don't know when I doodled this, but something like this. But if you look at Bitcoin like logarithmically, which is what people love to do on a cyclical basis, and go, oh, this is the market cycle, this is our uptrend, this is downtrend, yada, yada, yada. I think we're at a point in Bitcoin's maturity where we probably don't need to be looking at Bitcoin like this anymore. And if we just look at it from a simple linear-based perspective, we say, hey, this was our double top, that's resistance, we flipped resistance into support. If we run these, tariff lows into 50K, 60K, that looks like a really good bottoming region. Like if this is a 4-hour chart on an altcoin and you wanted to trade it, you would probably be a bidder here, right? You wouldn't just say, oh, no, it needs to come to 30K, right? You'd obviously be like, that looks like legitimate place to bid. Even the top of this, right? Even up here at 69K seems like a legitimate place to bid. Let's do it on a fresh chart. Let me find a chart that I haven't used. Or you do it like this and say, here's the range that we were trading. Here's our failure to break out of the range, distribution above range highs. There's your range lows. And here is your basically demand below range lows. So running this wick into demand, right? You play this from a range bound perspective. You don't even worry about cycles or anything like that. And you just hope that, hey, if price hangs around this region long enough, you will eventually flip these back to bullish. They'll go here, price will go above, price will go below. They just flatten out and go sideways. They don't even start a fresh downtrend. That is your most optimistic scenario for Bitcoin right now, saying there are going to be no fundamental market blow up drivers, industry blow ups and stuff like that. Eventually people just want to buy Bitcoin at 50K and 60K. You end up developing a long standing range up here. Do I think that's the most likely scenario? I don't think that's the most likely scenario, but it's a scenario that I can certainly envision. I think maybe the most likely scenario is you test, cost bases of the early ETF buyers probably. I'm always dad sorry to spend time with my family. Don't be sorry for that, dude. That's probably the best part of life. Market falls on good news at the top and rallies on bad news at the bottom. Yep. That is your classic case of news absorption. So when good news stops taking you higher, right? So you have a little bit of good news, and market goes, holy shit, let's go. And then you have maybe better news, and then you have the best news. And you basically got momentum loss, and it starts developing a range, and it rounds over. Then you got a little bit of bad news, and then you got worse news, and then you got the worst news of all time. And then you got a little bit of momentum loss and it starts developing a range. This is basically your FTX. You could call this your, I don't even know, the DATs of like, oh, crypto is the greatest asset in the world. Everyone's building a DAT. We have endless institutional buying on every asset. They're coming to buy our Dogecoin. This is going to be a Dogecoin ETF, right? If we lose the high time frame low structure from April, it could get ugly. Locally, yeah, I understand what you're saying. Here's our value. We're kind of hanging over the top of it. If we trade into it, yes, that becomes your like value to value argument of here's your value area high, here's your value area low. You accept an old value, things bleed out towards the value area low. Absolutely. And what the bears have going for them at this point is just saying, hey, look, the daily downtrend is bearish. and bulls are not able to break through this region. What bulls are saying is we're holding the line at support here, and we're going to look for a compression through, and then we can play a gap to the weekly trend. What bears are saying is no, no, no. You've lost everything. You're in a downtrend. We're going to keep continuing to defend the daily downtrend. We're going to continue shorting and selling here, and this is eventually just going to roll over. And what you're getting is just a compression between both of these ideas. $69K to $67K bottom. Yeah, maybe. That would be the easiest bear market of all time. But Bitcoin, like the maturity, the liquidity on Bitcoin has increased 50-fold. Just 50-fold compared to last cycle. It is so much more liquid than it used to be across everything. People are just throwing new dexes out the ass every single week, and the dexes have decent enough liquidity. This was not true last cycle, where every time there was a dex, you know, on-chain dex or whatever that would open up and it had Bitcoin liquidity, it was dog shit. It's not true anymore. So much more liquidity in Bitcoin nowadays, right? That's number one. Number two, you actually have buyers that are just blindly buying Bitcoin every day, right? You have ETF buyers that are just buying every day, right? I'm not saying that the net flows every day are bullish, but there are people every day that are taking some supply off the market, right? Little by little, incremental. So you have a little bit of flow increase, right? More volume, more liquidity, right? And then you could make the argument that every time Bitcoin has a larger cycle, the drawdowns are getting less and less and less, right? So basically you have diminishing returns to the upside, and you have, you know, smaller bear markets to the downside, right? So like, $86. So 93, 86. Was this wick lower or this wick lower? Whatever, they're the same. 86, right? 86, 84, 75. Maybe 60? I don't know. Maybe 65? Who knows? 90, 80, well, 80 twice, 75. You guys need to remember, this 75 was, oh, wait. I had it the wrong place. 77. This is everything. Just shit hit the fan in every single degree that you could imagine. This is the highest inflation in like 30 years, stock market correction, everything blowing up, interest rates rising, you know, just devastation across everything. And then crypto just blowing up bit by bit by bit with Luna and FTX and 3AC and creditors, and everything that could possibly go wrong went wrong. And it was lower than previous time. You could also make the argument, that for the first time in crypto history, Bitcoin did not go parabolic, right? This was what? 500%, 50K increase in like a year, right? Just absolutely maniacally up only, no consolidation built anywhere, just turbo sent. What did Bitcoin do this cycle? We went up a little bit, we went sideways for about a year, like 8 months. We went up a little bit, we went sideways for 8 months. And then we just been kind of crapping around. So this is the first time in crypto history that we actually built a little bit of support somewhere along our uptrend. Right? Like, what support was there anywhere along this? What support was there anywhere along this? Maybe a little bit right here, which is probably why we stopped at 30K a couple times. Look at this bad boy. I would have a hard time believing that we're just gonna, you know, trade through this like it was nothing. But hey, you know, maybe. I would make the argument that it's probably not going to be the worst bear market you guys have ever seen. I think it's just going to be, you know, in hindsight, it'll be like, oh, that was it. Is it just me or the sponsor's gone? I completely forgot. But my contract is up with Coinbase. I'd love to continue working with them, but I think my contract is up with them. Not really sure, actually. I should probably check on that. I want to have a meeting with them. The last time I talked to them was before the holidays, and me and Magus both hit them up, and we're just like, look, we want to touch base with you guys and see if like you're implementing some of the things that we want, as far as like more market makers and more liquidity and everything like that. It has gotten better. I will give them massive props. From the day that the product launched somewhere in like June or July to today, the liquidity has gone up like tenfold, but it's still not good enough for, you know, day to day, my kind of volume of trading to trade without like slippage. For limit orders, like who cares? But I'm trading the 1 minute charts. I'm marketing in, marketing out, right? The thing with Coinbase though, guys, is like they have so much money and they have the ability to just buy everything. They can buy all their competitors. They could make the super app. They could basically eat all the competition. They could, if they wanted to sacrifice some short-term revenue, they could send their fees to like near zero. They could take out Hyperliquid. They could do a lot of stuff. Do they want to do it? I don't know. So I think like this is sponsors aside, right? Let's ignore bias and sponsors on that front. Coinbase, the stock, to me, does not seem like a bad opportunity once again to buy the lows on. Like Coinbase was the only bet that I made last cycle as far as the stock market goes. Well, I made two. I made the Ethereum ETF one, but that was much later to compound mainly the Coinbase trade. But I think once again, like them having the prediction markets, right? Them having stocks being able to trade on Coinbase, right? Access to futures and perpetual futures, right? All of these things make it very lucrative, right? Now, all it is how do you steal market share from currently better products? And the currently better product is like, if you're an American, you want to trade perps, you trade on Hyperliquid, right? Or you trade on variational, or you trade on lighter. You trade on these products, right? For no KYC as an American. But you want like a regulated product in America, you have to trade on Coinbase, right? The more money you make, guys, the more the IRS is going to come after you, right? These are problems that you guys are going to probably have to think about one day. Something that I'm thinking about very strongly right now is like doing everything as possible by the book, making sure everything is by the book. And another thing, like a benefit of trading Coinbase, all your taxes will be done on the platform. You don't have to like get everything done. They will do it for you, right? It's Coinbase versus Kraken. True. Do you, oh yeah, can you do Hyperliquid? Okay, so let me just draw this on screen. XMR, BCH, Hype. I'll go through some of these coins on my list as well. Gamonad, what up, Jingo? How's my airdrop money doing? They gave me like $1,000 or $2,000. Okay, it's at zero. Never mind. So it's worth like $200 now. That 2017 area zoom just gave me sweats. I wasn't around back then, but I can imagine the PTSD. How would you think about invalidation for your spot buys when trying to pick this next bottom? Do you think about your spot buys as RR trade still or set and forget? No. So I'm going to be taking the exact same approach that I took last cycle. So here's how I did this, right? I wanted to catch the absolute bottom. I didn't want to go into drawdown because I had a limited amount of capital, right? And I've had to like basically blow my load at 30K and just hold those spot buys with no invalidation. I'm just bleeding capital. The amount of capital that I have to use for the next cycle, which I was very strongly convicted in the 4-year cycle back in this area. I really believed in it back then. I don't know what I believe anymore as far as 4-year cycle goes. Like, it seemingly played out again. I'm not really a 4-year cycle believer, but it seemingly played out again. Whatever. Time will tell. Back here, I really didn't want to bleed capital. So I did like buy and cut and buy and cut and buy and cut a bunch of times until it got to these regions where I just said basically like, look, I started thinking about it this way, right? And I had a really, my dad always brings up this conversation. I remember talking to my dad about this all the way down at like 15K, right? I had a conversation with him. And I was saying, I'm basically blowing my load now. I'm just buying all the spot. And he goes, yeah, but I think it can come to 10K. And I go, yeah, it probably can. Like, I wasn't even convinced when I bought FTX that I was buying the bottom. I was basically just thinking, like, I'm going to get shit on. Everything's still going to go to zero. Like, I don't know how this is going to resolve. I may just lose all my money. I don't know. The only thing that I believed in that allowed me to like withstand that is I was like, I believe in Bitcoin, the asset. Like I actually fundamentally believe in the asset. I want to own this asset. I could not say the same about everything in the market. That's why I wasn't able to buy Solana when I bought it. I bought it 11, I bought it 14, and it went down to 7, and I wasn't able to pull the trigger because I was like, dude, I don't have the same core belief in Solana that I do in Bitcoin. So there's going to come a day for Bitcoin where there's not going to be an invalidation. It's not going to be like, okay, I bought it 60K and it went to, 55K and I have to cut my Bitcoin buys, right? Because I have way more capital than I did way back then, right? So like, I'm not going to try to micromanage 10%, drawdown on Bitcoin if it gets to those levels. I'm just going to be thinking like the chances of Bitcoin making a brand new all-time high are going to be pretty damn good for me. And I'll basically be leveraging that idea of going, whatever I buy now, if I buy at 60K, the high EV tells me in a few years we will make a new all-time high. I fundamentally believe Bitcoin's not done for its history, and that's a 2x return on my money. If we go to 40K, okay, that's a 3x return on my money, just to all-time highs. I'm not thinking about 200K. I'm not thinking about any of that. And I made this same argument to my dad. I don't know if he's watching. Sometimes he does watch my streams. And we were talking about this down here at 15, 16K. He was making the argument it could go to 10. And I was like, yeah, but it could, I really believe it's going to go back to 60K. So for me, this is like a 10R trade, right? And you could kind of make that same bet right here. And it doesn't mean that you have to sell your Bitcoin at the lows. It's not like an invalid. It's just a drawdown. It's like, yeah, I didn't maximize the efficiency of my capital. I didn't catch the lows. I'm dealing with drawdown. This capital didn't get put to use at the best, highest, most peak RR situation. But it becomes at a point so good that you kind of don't want to ignore it. So I'd be thinking about my spot buys the same way. I'd be like, I fundamentally believe in Bitcoin. I want to own this asset. If these buys at 70K or 60K go into drawdown, I will live with it. Even if it goes from 70K to 40K, that's a huge drawdown, but I'd still be saying, hey, look, the odds of Bitcoin making a new all-time high are pretty strong for me. The odds of Bitcoin going to zero are not that strong for me. I still think that this money is going to be put to good use over a multi-year perspective. Kraken doing way better improvements, in my opinion. I haven't kept up with what Kraken is doing, but here's the thing. Coinbase has way more money than Kraken, and all the institutional flow that's going into the markets is happening through Coinbase. You need to remember that too. Coinbase is custodying all the ETFs. Kraken is not, as far as I'm aware. All the institutional money, all the ETF money, all those executions are being done through Coinbase. The money, the net revenue they have is immense. Coinbase is a Fortune 500 company. It is a massive global company. They make tons of money. The amount of money that they have allows them so much flexibility to just basically outcompete their competitors through just throwing cash at stuff. So I believe like company to company, they have a mega advantage. Could they fumble it? Yes. And look, I'm partnered with them. And I'm going to call them out where I see fit, and I'm going to promote them when I see fit. I'm not going to give you this completely biased take that they're the GOATs. Yeah, they can fumble this opportunity. They can not listen to people like me and Magus and say, look, we don't think liquidity is the most important thing. We think we can do this and that and the other thing. That would be a mistake on their part. But as far as I'm, know and aware, they're working towards it. They know that that's a priority. Are they moving at a snail's pace? Yes. Is that unfortunate? Yes. If they wanted our partnership to be the best they could be, they would give me liquidity and I would literally just take my volume there because it's already integrated in Silico. I don't need to change a beat. I just put my money on Coinbase, continue executing it through in Silico. Life doesn't change for me. And now all my money is in a regulated exchange on US soil. Like I would feel more comfortable versus having my money on foreign exchanges. They're not going to listen? Well, time will tell. Time will tell. I have hopes. Okay, let's start looking at some alts. We can start with Hype. Okay, so Hype just basically went down only for a couple months, right? Bitcoin's been going sideways, right? So not since October. Bitcoin has been basically going sideways for like 45 days. What is Hype down? Hype went high to low, 40% down. It is in a daily downtrend. I think this is mass mass selling before their unlocks, and their unlocks are pretty soon, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. I think their unlocks are in about a week. And I think there's a lot of front running of those hyperliquid unlocks. And this seems more like a buy the news event to me than a sell the news event, because you drastically sold into what is a negative event. So most likely that event won't be as negative if people perceive it to be, right? It's coming into levels that I think long-term hyperliquid bulls think is already extreme discount region. Let's pull up more data, right? So you already dropped down, into some pretty old levels. $20. We traded in $20 for a lot of time earlier this year. I think hyperliquid, jury's out. People are a lot more bullish on hyperliquid than I am personally. I'm still probably mid-curving hyperliquid. I haven't made $1 off hyperliquid, right? So I'm not the guy to listen to here, right? I'm fully aware of that. I didn't farm hyperliquid. I didn't buy hyperliquid spot. I faded this multiple times. So in that regard, probably don't listen to me from the fundamentals case. We'll talk about it purely from a technical point of view. I simply think this downturn from like 50K to 20K, 50% down over 50 days, the highest likelihood scenario is probably a counter trend rally, because we're expecting one on Bitcoin, right? A little bit of relief followed by a range formation, right? Range formation, probably a final drop, and that'll be like the end of it, right? How low this goes, I don't really know. This is a lot of selling, and I think that this selling resolves in a consolidation. How that consolidation breaks will be largely dependent on what Bitcoin does over the next couple months. So would I advise you to take longs right into the daily trend? No, but pullback longs don't seem like a bad idea. This is down quite a bit while Bitcoin has gone basically sideways. So what the hyperliquid plans I would make would basically be like this. Bitcoin trades down to its local composite value low, 86, 85, which is 1% away, which is probably not going to do much for hyperliquid, right? If Bitcoin goes down 1%, and if we believe that hyperliquid put it in a bottom before the unlocks, hyperliquid is not going to do much. It's going to go down maybe 1%, 2%, maybe 5%. I don't know, right? At most. That's a dip you buy as kind of like a proxy bet of being like, I think Bitcoin goes up from here. Likely the whole market goes up from here. Hyperliquid's probably a good buy. It's probably in a buy the news kind of situation for those unlocks. XPL, is this even worth looking at yet? Okay, one thing I can comment on is it was being rejected by the H4100. It's probably hard for you guys to see. Bottom band of the daily trend, 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, 4 times. We traded it into the H4200, right? So what I would say is a little bit of momentum loss for the XPL bears. Also, you could make the argument here now, as far as a breaker situation, these are the highs that led to the most recent lows. You've taken out the highs that led to the lows, right? Does this mean that we need to bid the breaker to look for highs? No, but it could tell you that we are entering a more range bound or sideways price action area versus a let's continue straight bleeding to zero type of area, right? First decent push into your H4200. Kind of a multiple day uptrend now. 10 days of up. I don't think XPL has had 10 days of up throughout this whole downtrend. Yeah, I think it's the longest standing uptrend in XPL history already. So that tells me it's probably the start of a bottoming formation on XPL, local bottoming formation, right? Now, through this situation, you basically say, okay, where's our discount? Where's our premium? Bid discounts. Don't be that aggressive into premiums. ASTER. Yeah, this is one of those latecomers into the DEX meta. Buying this is basically you're just taking a bet on Binance, right? It's just a Binance bet. It's nothing else other than that, right? Long-standing range breakdown. When a range breakdown with volume, right, as it did here, you don't fade that breakdown. It's got continuation. You did not trade back up to the origin of that effort. You got continuation down. Another momentum loss basis. Again, this would just be range-bound trading here. Highs, lows, etc. Solana. Once again, I think this is a bit of momentum loss coming in down at these lows. It's probably still under the daily downtrend, which it is. Breaking through the daily downtrend, holding back up into 126. So you'd basically saying, here's your value area low, or here is the 2024 value area low. This is where we spent 8 months trading in. These were good levels to trade off of, right? As far as reacceptance back into the range, reacceptance back into that 2024 value area low. Flipping the daily downtrend, that gave you your kind of relief rally towards the value area high, right? Once again, you probably will be looking for a similar bet here and saying, let's trade back above 126, let's flip this daily downtrend, and maybe we get relief all the way up to 160s, right? Let's see where the weekly trend is. So maybe not quite 160s, maybe like 155, 158, something like that, right? That's the bet you want to take on Solana. Keep an eye on that. Pump fund, this is kind of the same ASTER type of trade. ZEC, this one's interesting. So what my kind of base case on ZEC was literally all the way back here, I made a tweet and I said, it's probably not going to be as easy of a short as you guys believe, right? And that the reason I said that is because I saw a lot of people saying, oh my God, I can't believe we get to short this asset back to $15. Markets don't often grant you that trade, right? Even if it goes down sub $100 again one day, it's probably going to do this to you for about a year first, right? It'll trade back up to the highs. It'll trade back down to the lows. It'll trade back up to the highs. It'll trade back down to the lows. And eventually you run out and that becomes your distribution for the breakdown. This is probably what ZEC is going to do to you. Now, I know there's going to be ZEC believers out there that think this is going to go on its own bull market. Sure, be my guest. I'm not that fundamentally bullish on ZEC. I simply think this is another just spun up, narrative in crypto, right place, right time, etc. So I don't think it's going to go up another leg. To be honest, I think it's going to be more of like a very clean range-bound trading asset where you get up into the premiums and you're not going to really find bidders at those highs around $600, $700. And you can get a reversion back down to the lows, and you don't want to hold on to that short and just saying it's going to go to zero. Monad even worth looking at? Not yet. Okay. What were the other ones? BCH. This isn't even my... Okay. Maybe it is. What the hell? You got me drawing diagonals on here. This must have been from a stream. Don't worry, guys. Not a trade that I took, and I'll trade BCH. Okay, that's better. So you see how this is trading? This is kind of more or less what I would kind of expecting ZEC to form, right? It is just a high standing, range where when you trade back up at the highs, you don't really find buyers up here. You revert down to the lows. You do kind of, this ping pong type price action in a range bound situation. Don't really have much idea of what is creating the pump. Maybe it's just all Dino coins or something are strong right now. It's great volatility to trade, to be honest. Okay, thing that stands out to me, daily trend was very, very clean. When you lose the daily trend, you bet on a range. So daily trend loss, that leads to your kind of range high sweep. Sometimes these are lower highs, sometimes they're equal highs. Here you got a sweep. Very clean trade down to the weekly. Weekly not being respected, so it's not actually trending on the weekly time frame, right? It is more range bound than it is trending. What I would say is you're trading back into the highs. Once again, if you absolutely have to bet on higher, you would say, hey, the daily trend was immaculate the first time around. If we are going to push out of this range, out of these highs, you want to be a bidder down at the daily trend once again. That would be your BCH type of entry location, which would be around 585 to 575, something like that. XMR. Okay, let me go to the restroom real quick, and then I'll check XMR. Okay, thank you for your patience. XMR. Okay, so before I even open this, I would basically say that the XMR is your kind of beta trade to the ZEC success. So ZEC has been going crazy, and I assume that people, are spinning up a privacy narrative, and through that privacy narrative, what's the biggest name in privacy is going to be XMR, right? Monero. So I'm assuming this has been getting a bid because of ZEC, but I would say to you guys, if you want to trade a meta, 99.9% of the time, it's best to bet on the leader of that meta versus the laggard, right? So now, with all that being said, let's take a look. Okay, decently clean daily trend. Obviously not the cleanest. One time you lost it, you got to tag it the weekly. Another deviation, reclaim, that would have been a decent bid. We have a sweep of the highs, and we're trading into the daily trend. If you want to bet on trend continuation here, you basically look for the daily trend bid, right? Same thing we talked about on BCH, Bitcoin Cash, whatever, right? Almost the exact same trade. Let's go down to like the 4 hour and see. Weekend price action already reverted. So weekend pump already retraced. I think ZEC probably has, oh yeah, ZEC pumped from here over the weekend. 447. It's a big weekend markup. So what is this telling you? What this is telling you is through the weekend, ZEC got a massive bid, right? And through that bid, it brought the beta trades into play, which is XMR. And XMR underperformed once again. And while ZEC was able to, at least for now, hold on to those weekend gains, XMR already gave up all the weekend gains. So significantly weaker than ZEC. If you're betting, if you want to trade one asset in this meta, I would suggest just trading the Chad, the alpha, the winner of the meta right now, right? Versus wasting your time trying to trade XMR. So this, it's a tough lesson that we all learn one time or another. And that lesson is simply the beta is beta, or betas are for betas, right? You almost never want to trade a beta asset, right? And say, hey, it'll catch up, it'll catch up, it'll catch up. They almost never do, right? Okay, let's go back up and chat. Tons of money. Oh yeah, we talked about that. UI. The UI has improved. I don't know if you've been on it recently. I mean, it's pretty similar to all other exchanges now. We did ZEC, PENDLE, Syrup weekly levels. Jingo, PENDLE's got to be the new. It's got to be the new LDO for the clinic, dude. We got to do a push-up rule for PENDLE at this point. So I think I looked at PENDLE recently. Okay, heavy selling into the lows, but we can adjust this at this point. I haven't looked at this chart in forever. Okay, well, here you go. You're trading at range lows. These were equal lows. You swept the lows. You got excess selling into these lows. You've taken out. Have you taken out the 1010 wick? Yeah, you by like a penny probably. You took out the 1010 wick. Yeah, it's probably due for some mean reversion down here. Is this the best asset to trade at this point? Probably not, but you're right. It's not if you have to bid PENDLE, this is probably the place to bid PENDLE. So good call there. Syrup. I think we covered Syrup a lot on the stream earlier in the year, and we're basically just talking about trend-based trades and how when the trend is cooked, it's going to form a range. So another example for you guys of when the long-standing trend dies, just fuck the asset, dude. It's not even worth your brain power, right? I don't love this. The reason I'm saying that is here's your clean level, around 30 cents, right? You broke out. Perfect retest for me are not the best thing that you want to bet on. Perfect retests usually lead to shitty bounces, right? And you got a lower high here. You could play this two ways. You could say, here's a consolidation before next leg up, which I think is going to be probably unlikely. You could trade this from a range perspective and say, this is the level to defend. You know, you want to TP into the highs. Or you could say, hey, if we start reaccepting below this, it's going to be a perfect short back down to these lows, right? And I think this, out of the three things I mentioned, is probably the best thing to bet on, of saying reacceptance below 30 brings this back into play. That's going to be the strongest and probably highest EV rotation to bet on. You could take the long here again, right? But you could also say, look, we already did this and we put in a lower high. Is it going to give me a better reaction this time? Probably not. But I think that's a bet that you could take if you are a bull. If you're saying, hey, there's a catalyst on the horizon, or you just want to bet, you know, use syrup as your proxy bet on saying I'm bullish Bitcoin, or I'm bullish whatever XYZ at this point. Or you could wait for the short and say, hey, we've reaccepted back below 30. I'm going to look to trade this back down and any push back up. PENGU may be a good long-term build over the coming years. I think the only thing PENGU has for it is that it did a decent job crossing the barrier over into just like normie land, right? I've seen like PENGU GIFs go viral. Like I saw PENGU one time on my Instagram feed as like a meme, which I thought was crazy. So maybe that's the only thing. I'm amazed there's a guy in chat saying PENGU CBS coin is a good buy. Mental disease. What up, Lucifer? A long time no see, buddy. I mean, that's on you, dude. Like, you're gonna have to develop some kind of fundamental conviction that this is an asset that you want to buy, right? Even if it's an asset you want to buy, it's probably not the first in line thing to buy, right? You give this 6 months to a year and see if you still want to buy it, right? That's what I would say on an asset like this. Just buy patrol stocks. Oh no, that's where we're at, dude. Patrol stocks, do cards, weird request. If it's on TradingView. No, oh my god, I think I covered this for you at some point. Just ignore this one for a bit, dude. Same kind of PENGU type analysis, right? Just if you want to own this, check back in a bit. Yeah, you could make the argument, hey, it's flipping the daily downtrend right now. We're consolidating above it. If you want to just play this from a range bound perspective and want to bet on the lows, totally fine. It already filled in the kind of weekend gap. So weekend closed here, we opened up here. You already filled all of this grind down. Yeah, if you want to defend the daily trend, be my guest. It's a weird place to do it because you're also kind of, I think, at like range mid of this entire consolidation. My god, that looks like PENDLE. Yeah, the ZC. Yeah. Also, no need to chart it, but buy back your Meteora stack. Oh, jeez. That was a good call by you, by the way, dude. I haven't touched the Solana account in a minute. I did like a 1 SOL challenge on the BonkBot wallet, the telemetry wallet. I think it's at 13 SOL, if I remember correctly. Somewhere around somewhere above 10. I think it's like 12, 13 SOL. I basically sold the top. What was that? My last trade. It was being shilled on CT a lot recently. Fuck, what was it called? Oh, AVICI. So I basically sold like into here. I had this from I don't even know what price. It was like a 10x for me. So I had it from like down here, sold into this. Yes, I missed the top. Who cares? I don't think I'm gonna buy this back. What'd you say? Met? I'll think about it. I'll buy it in the Solana wallet maybe. Silver miner stocks to catch up. I don't know the silver miner names. That's a good question to ask Mag if he ends up streaming tomorrow. He probably won't stream tomorrow, but if he does, ask him. Have you covered Doge? No. Is there a reason to cover Doge? I don't think there's a reason to cover Doge. By the way, Ansem nailed this one, didn't he? I don't know if he actually ended up taking the trade, but he did call top on this. Would have been unbelievable if he took it. I don't know if he took it. Nah, there's no point. There's just no point in this chart. Do RIVN? Dude, I actually own RIVN. I should probably check on it. I bought it on a whim. I think I put like 20K into it. Oh my god, I'm rich. This is the day I bought it. I like 13 something. This is, I think the whole thesis here is just slow cook. So we'll see where this is at in about a year. Not bad. Not too shabby. Not too shabby. We'll see where this is at in about a year. Probably a local top put in right there. Dashed it a pump retrace. Good call pointing out the full retest angle. That was syrup, right? Yeah. Man, so many chop charts. Yeah. What is that PENGU chart? Got any plans for lit TGE? I have none. When is it? So I would assume this is where I'm coming from. Day one, it's a trade for sure, right? I made so much money this cycle on just blind buying brand new names on TGE. As most recently, the last one that I did it on was XPL. XPL was a blind buy, literally at launch at like 60 cents. And yeah, this went up to like 160. So banger trade. And I traded the fuck out of this on perps for this entire thing. I took all my perp gains on this one. This was a good weekend. I took all my perp gains on this one and bought the Trillions meme coin. And then the Trillions meme coin, I got a 3x on. So banger weekend. That's what you get when brand new coins launch, right? But just don't bet on it long term. I don't know if Lighter is going to be the next hyper liquid and just does a 10x off TGE. I don't think this is the right environment for something to do a 10x off TGE. I think it's a better environment for people to be like, we're down bad. We just lost so much money the past 6 months. We're granted this massive airdrop, and I think a lot of people would sell their airdrop. Yes, there will be believers that are trading in a position of power that have capital that could just be like, I want to hold my airdrop, more power to them. But I don't think it's the right environment for a coin to just go absolutely nutty off TG. But nonetheless, yeah, probably a good trade day one. I'll probably be paying attention, you know, whenever it happens. But no current plans. The playbook that I always have for TGE is just blind buy the launch. Just the minute it launches, I just mark it. RIVN looks insane. Yeah, dude. I just bought it because Jin Tao kept shilling it on my feed. And one day he made me the RIVN meme with the dock face. And this is just those bull market brain type of things. It's like you're coming out of an era of multiple years where you just made a lot of money and you have cash. Like my TradFi account was just full cash, right? I made 2 trades this cycle. One was Coinbase, the next one was Ethereum. And I was just like, fuck it. I'll just put 20K into RIVN. It's not even a lot of money. Like the RIVN needs to do multiples for that to even matter, you know? But yeah, I don't know what I'm up on it right now. Pull up path, UI path. Oh, we're getting into turbo shitter territory, aren't we? All right, it's not on here, dude. Sorry. EC on monthly chart. Which one? You said oil stock, so this one seems right. Yeah, I mean, it looks bottomed. From that front, yeah, it looks bottomed. This is what, multiple years? 10 years of trading around these prices. Yeah, just from a shit coin perspective, if I had to say, hey, this thing is just bottomed from like a purely dog shit asset perspective, 100%. And if you're bullish on oil at this moment, it makes sense to buy something like this now. Sure. Yeah, good call. Can you do more stocks? Yeah, of course. So like Mag actually hit me up about this a couple of months ago. Not even months, maybe a month ago. And he was just like, Doc, we need to start trading stocks. I think it's a legitimate call, right? I've been thinking long and hard about what I want to do with my capital. Like I mentioned to you guys earlier in the stream, it's just sitting in cash. It's doing fucking nothing. And I want to buy like land, real estate, houses. Like that's what I want to do. I want to diversify capital outside of markets. And I know people are going to say, don't buy the housing market, is up only, whatever. Like you're buying too expensive. It's just an asset to have and hold. Maybe it's not the best investment of all time, but if I'm living in the house and it's a nice house, it's paying off, right? It's a nice house. So I'm keeping some cash on the side for that. The other number 2 thing, obviously, is Bitcoin. I just want to own a lot of Bitcoin. And outside of that, I do not have a single kind of fundamental place to want to put money, but it's probably a good time to start just buying just fucking the S&P 500 or the NASDAQ or something like that, right? Like if we go back, this is the most depressing thing. This is the most depressing thing, right? If you were just a buy and holder, right? Screw, you know, trading and min-maxing and playing market cycles. If you're doing that, obviously you shit on that stuff. But like if you're just looking at something like NASDAQ and you're like, dude, I could have just bought and held this stress-free all year in the April lows. Instead of buying Bitcoin, I could have just bought the NASDAQ. I could have bought the S&P 500. I could have bought NVIDIA. I could have bought all these things, right? Then it hurts. If you're looking at this over Bitcoin and you're just like, damn, it didn't even really... Oh, wait, I want to do it the other way. Like, this shit hurts. Yes. You rightfully so should make the argument that, hey, with Bitcoin, you're trying to sell the tops and buy the bottoms, so you're extracting the volatility. 100%. I'm right there with you. But you do want it on a cycle-to-cycle basis to at least hold some new values and some new highs and stuff like that, right? Just to revisit, you know, the 2021 highs and top there. That shit hurts for sure. So what this means, what this actually means, if you sold the top on in 2021 on Bitcoin, March 2021, like you sold anywhere in here, right? It was a better investment for you to just port all that money into the NASDAQ versus doing, you know, buying Bitcoin. Now it's a different story completely if you sold the top on Bitcoin here and then you bought the bottom on Bitcoin. Now you've turbo outperformed 100%. But if you just sold Bitcoin, like let's say you made like 5 mil last cycle, and you just put it in the NASDAQ and just chilled, or put it in stocks and just chilled, you would have had a better time. Don't have to deal with the stress. Performed pretty well. I read something about the X money launch for Doge. Oh, I don't know anything about that. Pre-markets live. Let's see. I hate the pre-market trading meta. I think this is ruining TGEs straight up, dude. Nonetheless, I think if you're bullish on lighter, you just buy it now. 1x long. You don't need to lever. It's just like a spot buy. Just 1x long here. You're trying to front run the TGE flow. Long time, sorry I'm late. How was Japan? No worries, dude. If you want to rewatch the stream, I think we had a lot of good discussions today. Watch it on 2x. I talk slow. Japan was phenomenal, dude. I actually caught a lot of heat for saying something that I didn't think was controversial, but people are very upset about it. I had a phenomenal time in Japan, though. I had a blast. The only thing I would say is I didn't plan a single thing. I didn't know the itinerary. I didn't know where we were going, what day. I just kind of showed up. I bought my ticket. They told me what hotels to buy. I bought the hotels. End of story. They you know, got Airbnbs in a couple of the cities, so like I didn't even do anything with that. I didn't know what the plan was. I didn't know what the sightseeing was. I didn't know what the travel. I didn't know anything, right? It ended up being, out of the 10 days there, like at least 5 full days out of the 10 days. 5 full days were just like walking around cities, going into like shops and doing retail shopping and stuff like that, which in hindsight, if I had to change one thing, it would be that. But then again, I didn't make any of the plans. I just showed up, right? So I can't complain about that. Had I made some plans and we did that, I would just like veer off from the group and be like, fuck that, I'm going to do what I want to do, right? But yeah, I definitely need to go back to Japan and do it a different way. This was supposed to be a boys snowboarding trip, and we didn't end up snowboarding because a bunch of the girlfriends invited themselves, and then they can't snowboard, and then it turned into like a couples trip, and yeah. Check FARTCOIN and grass. You gotta be trolling, dude. Definitely not checking grass. FARTCOIN I can check. It's probably nothing great I think the only thing FARTCOIN did that is like noteworthy is it's been in this kind of daily downtrend forever, and now it looks to me like it's forming a range for the first time instead of just being a daily downtrender. This is the first decent range that it's formed. Basically since 1010 it's been going sideways. So the entirety of Q4 is starting to form a range. So you can trade it from a range-bound perspective, and I wouldn't worry too much about new all-time highs or anything like that. This was the opportunity that it had, and this is one that caught me off guard because I was looking for higher prices here, right? Daily trend reset to the weekly. This is where I positioned on FARTCOIN. Expected highs. I actually took a minor amount of profits and then rebid FARTCOIN and ended up giving a lot of the P&L back, which is unfortunate, but that's how I traded this. I was way more optimistic coming out of this. I think a lot of people were, but yeah, definitely, you know, I treated this more like a high time frame swing trade rather than a kind of level to level trade. I didn't do much altcoin trading this year. This is one of the very few altcoins that I traded this year. Oh, Path is a stock. Gotcha. Interesting. Probably should learn what it is. Guy that put me on Lemonade early. Oh, Lemonade was such a banger in 2021, wasn't it? This was such a banger in 2021. Oh, damn, this looks good too. Holy. This looks good. I think Baba has been breaking out of a long-standing range. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I need to send alert. I'm going to send alert here on Baba. Okay, good. Following the plan. I really like this idea of including trading stocks as well. Dude, it might be the end game of CT, to be honest. Like, we didn't fucking build anything this cycle that was worthwhile, in my opinion. Like, people will claim it's hyper liquid, and maybe it is, maybe it's not. There's nothing this cycle, in my opinion, that was noteworthy. This is kind of like a dead altcoin cycle, top to bottom. So yeah, having stocks included in the analysis would definitely help. Because if if stocks are going to outperform altcoins, like, why trade altcoins? It's truly everyone docks turns to flipping real estate. I'm not really trying to flip real estate. I'm trying to, like, just own. I love going to the shrines. Yeah, I went to one. I went to the one in Kyoto, which was really fun. Really fun. Just go there blind, no research, no planning. I think that's, yeah, that would have been great. Did you eat Burger King every day? No, I ate ramen and sushi every day. Those are actually, it's funny. Those are my two favorite foods in the world, like from childhood. Like I was eating ramen as a kid, and then I got into like eating sushi when I was like 15, 16, and those are literally my like two favorite foods in the world. If I ever wanted a meal, those are the two things that I fucking love. So going there was like heaven for me, literally heaven. I had sashimi for breakfast at like 7 a.m. at the fish market in Tokyo, like the 4th or 5th day there. It was beautiful. Historically, FARTCOIN would be one of the first alts to move. It has one data point of that. That's it. I would argue FARTCOIN only has one data point for doing that. I hope 2026 is more interesting. I think, dude, I'm kind of way more optimistic on Bitcoin 2026 than I was a couple months ago, but we'll see how it plays out. Like, first and foremost, I'm just giga focused on trading this. It doesn't matter how low the volatility gets. I know it'll pick up soon enough. I've been trading since like the 26th, 25th. I think I took a trade on the 25th. So maybe, yeah, I did take a trade on Christmas. I just remembered. The funny thing is I was distracted for both of these. So I was not able to catch any of these BARTs, which really, really sucks. Like yesterday when I was long from like here. I TP'd into the highs. I placed a limit. I got filled at the pico bottom of this limit. And then I set a limit TP at the H4 100, right? Like right around 88.3 or something like that. I got filled on that and then ripped to 90K. So obviously that hurts a little bit, but it is what it is. Stocks are so good. Why am I in crypto? Dude, it's a valid statement. It's a valid fucking statement. What was the one stock that I missed? STX? This is not there yet. Wait, I think I did. Yeah, I did STX. Oh my goodness. I think I've looked at this with you guys before, no? Jesus. Just this is what you come to crypto for. This is what you come to crypto for. And instead this is what you get. And this is what you get. And then you get a year of this. And then you get one of these. And you get this, which will bait you into being bullish and then eventually distribute and dump on you. I wonder if Monad's going to be a one-time good trade. It'll happen one day. I don't know when that'll be, but I feel it's gonna give you one of these at one point. It'll be a one-time really good trade at the very least. Maybe you shilled it. That's possible. It's possible. All right, well, coming up towards the end of the stream, any last questions, shoot them my way. Dude, this is the smallest stream turnout that I've had in 2 years. I don't think we cracked 100 viewers today. And I don't think that's happened since like early 2024, which is wild, but I still had fun. I still had a lot of fun today. And I'm really happy I streamed, and I'm really happy you guys tuned in. But yeah, man, I'm just, you know, I yapped about this a lot at the start of the stream, but it's a big reason why I did well this cycle. Straight up, man. I was locked in for every single moment that people were saying to touch grass. Dude, I've said this all cycle. They told you to touch grass here. What did I do? I learned how to trade low time frames, and that served me well for all of this. When I sold the spot bags, what did I do? I went back to this, the low time frame trading that I learned or started teaching myself in 2024. They told you to fuck off here. They told you to fuck off here. Like, you learn how to trade when it's dog shit, dude. You level up. You know, you have to earn the right to take time off. Like, people that are telling you to touch grass, maybe there's some legends out there. Like, Loma probably believes that, but Loma's earned the right, dude. Loma probably was grinding harder than you guys could imagine at one point during his come up. I know that he started off scalping. How many trades do you think he got under his belt? Do you think there was a point where he was like, no, there's not enough volatility, I'm not going to trade? Yeah, he earned the right now, sitting here 2-3 cycles in with how much money he has to take time off when he doesn't want to trade, when he knows that he can extract max value in an easier way. But he learned that the hard way. Where do you think he would be? And I'm using Loma as an example, as the first name that came to my mind. You could probably input 50 other people in here that have earned this right, or 100 other people, or whatever. Where do you think he would be if you listened to the fucks that say, oh, go touch grass, and he just wasted 3 months of his life doing fucking nothing, scrolling CT, looking at dog shit, looking at everyone posting slop on the timeline every day, and talking about prediction markets and UFC and all this other dog shit, just being distracted? Where do you think he'd be? I know I wouldn't be here if I listened to those voices down here. Down here. If you listen to CT, what they want you to do is just buy something low and sell something high, but that's one rep. You bought something low, congratulations. How do you know how to sell it high? You've literally taken one trade. Your entire repertoire over 9 months is buying one asset and then trying to sell the top and failing, and then being too scared to sell it because you've been conditioned to just hold through every volatility move, every 50% correction. You have no idea where to sell it till you round trip 80%, and then you go, oh, fuck. I just wasted a year of my life. Congratulations, you got one rep in. Meanwhile, there's other people out there that got 1,000 reps in the same time. My hope is that I'm gaining so much crypto experience this year, I'll chat it up when crypto moves nice relative to other assets. 100%. 100%. That's the right way to think about it. You've gained experience, right? Maybe you didn't make a bunch of money. Whatever, dude. No one makes a bunch of money the first time around unless you get lucky. Like, the only reason I would not have made money in 2021 had I not just gotten lucky and been right place, right time, right? I was in the stock market. That's my origin into crypto. I probably have this written somewhere. There you go. Right? This is the origin of my trading arc, and I bought Bitcoin. So this is how it happened. I was trading on Robinhood until like here, somewhere in here. I don't remember when. So I was trading on Robinhood, and that was my origin, right? And then I was like, no, I need like better platform. This is rookie shit. So I moved over to TD Ameritrade, started trading on like Thinkorswim and stuff like that, taking it way more seriously. And it's not like crypto where you just wait, a couple minutes and your assets transferred over. It took like fucking 5 days to move my assets over from one brokerage to another. And I remember that weekend or whatever, I saw crypto, because Robinhood is crypto, and I had like $2,000, I think, in the account left over. And I think I bought $500 of Doge, $500 of Bitcoin, $500 of Ethereum, and $500 of Ethereum Cash. And I was like, I'm just going to hold some crypto. I'm up some money. I'll buy some crypto. And then this happened like a month later, and I sold the bottom on all of those 4 things, right? And then I watched crypto do this over the next few months and had insane FOMO until the point that it corrected on Thanksgiving Day, and I had all of my money ready. I moved everything out of TradFi, everything out of TD Ameritrade, and I just went in on Bitcoin and ETH, right? I didn't sell the top here. I actually bought alts here. I bought some money left over. I bought some altcoins at the top, and I got destroyed. And when I got destroyed, guess what? I was still up a lot, right? Right place, right time. Luck. I wouldn't have left this cycle a winner had it not been for this, right? So maybe, different scenario. Yeah, I just lose money in 2021, 2020, whatever, also, until I take it serious and actually learn how to start trading, which was all the way over here. Not a lot of people make money early on, dude. Good to have you back. Good to be back, man. Where do I apply for the Paragon scholarship? We don't have one of those. Maybe we'll do one of those one day, dude. the thing is, in order to have a scholarship, what that basically means, right? For anyone interested or confused, basically, like, I'll just give you I'll pay for your Paragon membership, right? But I want to know what kind of person you are. Like, if I'm going to spend my time talking to you, teaching you, answering all your questions, being your customer service rep, essentially, being your mentor, it's got to be someone that I know is a hard worker, right? So I don't know how I'm going to do that and gauge that off of comments in a public stream. I really don't know how that's going to happen. Anyways, that's it for me. I appreciate you guys for tuning in, and I'll see you next week. Let's get the ball rolling. And my mentality in 2026 is straight up, I'm trying to have a phenomenal year. Up, down, sideways, I don't give a shit. I'm trying to push my sizing. I'm trying to take bigger trades. I'm trying to, I'm gonna try to improve, because whatever this year ends up being, I don't fucking know what 2026 has to offer, dude. I'm not trying to make a prediction on what's gonna happen. Whatever it has to offer, all I know is I'm looking to giga improve once again in 2026, dude. I'm nowhere near what I want to be as a trader. Like, the goals are so much higher, and I'm not there yet. You know, we can talk about the success. We can talk about, hey, we made money and we did this and we changed our life and all that, but I'm not satisfied. I'm always thinking about, okay, what's next, right? Like, I have to compare myself to where I would have been as a doctor. If I'm making $400K a year as a physician that specialized in something, can I make $400K a year every year for 30 years, regardless of the market, right? That's the benchmark. It's not, can I beat Bitcoin? It's P&L, right? And so far we've done good, but we can't deny the conditions have been very lucrative for that. Okay, can we continue doing that? If Bitcoin just has a 20% range for an entire year, can we do that in a downtrend? I'm pretty confident that it'll be able to do that, but let's see. That's my benchmark. Can we keep the ball rolling, and can we get better, and can we turn into one of these names that people respect, right? Job's not finished, boys. See you soon.